All right, what's going on, guys? I'm Justin Langhill, golf performance coach. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to get more out of your range sessions. So after this video, you should have a better understanding of how to take your driving range game to the course. Let's go. All right, so whether you have a 30 ball bucket, 35 ball bucket, 80 ball bucket, 100, doesn't matter. First thing we want to do is warm up with wedges. If I see anybody pull out their driver or woods first thing when they get here, you're on a fast track to injury more than likely. Understand that a smaller swing at like 50, 60%, great way to warm up if you didn't already stretch. And it's a great way to get foundational swing points, connection to the ground, embedded in your brain as you move up the chain. First thing I'm going to do when I get to the range is I'm going to start thinking about 40, 50, 60-yard shots to try to get connection with the ground and try to just use my shoulders to swing. Stay more finesse than power. I'll have a super narrow stance when I'm hitting these. Really just trying to smooth my swing through it, get my shoulders through it more than trying to add power from my legs. What that'll do, guys, is as you start adding legs and the whole body in the mix, you're really just throwing a lot of stuff around. You're increasing the variable, and I don't know about you, but I like 2 + 2 in math. I don't like to add the letters and the parentheses and things like that. That's what we're doing when we're making crazy moves in the golf swing. So a few of these sand wedges, nice and smooth, looking for a low number, 70, 60 yards at the most. As I move up the chain, maybe with a pitching wedge or a 9-iron, now I'm going to start thinking about adding some power into the mix. Nothing says that you can't take those same wedge, lob wedge, and start hitting full shots, but that's for my warm-up. As I start to move up the chain, that's when my stance is going to increase a little bit. So I'll widen my stance up. Might be under the hips, maybe a pinch outside the hips in both legs. Then I'll start adding some hip loading coil. DriveForce.golf. It is hot this summer. DriveForce is the best pre-round drink mix that I've ever had that has eliminated my fatigue on the golf course. It has a fantastic formula that's going to keep you from being fatigued on the golf course. So use my code REBORN20 to get 20% off at checkout. DriveForce is going to keep you from being tired during the summer. Play more golf. Use my code REBORN20 for some DriveForce. One of the most important things I'm going to think about in this case is trying to maintain the smoothness of those shorter shots, building power into them. So as I'm thinking about trying to hit harder shots, I'm thinking about the smoothness, that fluidity, that nice sequence that we had with the wedges. That's why you'll see most pros warm up with the wedges. They don't just pull driver right out of the bag. Now, after I've moved past wedges and maybe those mid irons, 9, 7, I'm going to get into my higher irons, maybe 6, 5, start working my way up into bigger swings with a wider stance. A key point here, as I move up the bag, my swing does not change. My approach changes. I'm changing my approach to how I'm going to hit the golf ball. So the ball being a little bit more forward in my stance is an approach adjustment. It's not a swing adjustment. Okay, I'm not going to change my swing to hit this ball. That same smoothness with how you hit the wedges is going to move its way all the way up the bag. So that would be an example of a really good warm-up for the driving range. Even if you have 30 balls, you just condense how many shots you hit with each club. The warm-up is per bucket, but that's how it should look. So as I was doing that warm-up, what you saw on the ground were these alignment sticks. We're having alignment sticks on the ground at all times. I have 2 of them. One of them is going to be for my feet. I don't want to be pressed up against this line because I also am not going to have these on the course. So I want to practice making sure that the tips of my toes are equal to this line without being completely right on. The second one is for my club pad. And that's also not going to be right next to the ball. And what I'm looking for here is after I hit the ball, I want my club to continue on this path. I don't want to rip it hard left, and I certainly don't want to flare it out to the right. So the 2 alignment sticks, one's for the tips of my toes, where I also want to think my shoulders to be aligned as well. The other one for my club path toward my target. As I work through the bag, I don't want to become dependent on these training wheels. First thing I'm going to do is probably take one away. More than likely, the best thing I'm going to be at is foot alignment, so this one's going to go. And that way I can turn this to any target I want. This is how you really take driving range to the golf course. You have to simulate and really get imaginative. Golf is a creative game. You have to be creative. For my woods, for anything off of a tee, I'm not going to aim at pins or specific targets. I know a lot of time people say aim small, miss small. Totally agree with that. However, in real life, I want to draw a thin fairway out here. So if I'm aiming down the line, and ideally you want to aim somewhere not so far off from where the mat's aiming, that really does help. So in this case, I'm going to draw a fairway between two of the poles down there. So I know if I miss left, miss right. Now you're understanding your tendencies a little bit because you're actually aiming for something. You can get a statistical probability of which way you're missing, will also help you on the course. That was directly down the middle of the fairway, and how I'm going to choose my next club will be based on how I hit that shot. That's how you practice how you play. If I just pounded that drive down the middle, I'm taking a wedge out. Okay, practice how you play. If I hit it like crap and pissed it to the right, maybe I'm hitting a 7, 6, something that's probably going to be a little bit longer on the way in. If that's not simulating golf, I don't know what is. That's how you practice at the driving range. Start with your warm-up, move to alignment, which is extremely important, and then move to game simulated play as best you can with as many balls as you got. Once you do that, you will see improvement on the course, and you won't think, why am I such a range rat? I'm unbelievable on the range, and then terrible in person or in the real game. So good luck with all that. If you have any questions, please comment. Definitely. Thank you for subscribing, and we will see you next time.